The interesting thing about doing these kind of panels, well, first, I get to see people that you don't get to see normally. Most jobs, there's another camera operator there, but there's not four other fellas or gals that I'm going to hang out with, and it's work. This is more social, and then it also gives us the opportunity to go out onto the floor and look at the gear. So you get to blend a lot of that together. Yeah. I guess I find the real value with NAB is we see stuff that I may not be using now or next week or next month or even next year, but I see it, I can log it into my brain, and then if the discussion comes up of how to do something or I need to do a shot a certain way, I've seen it. I've maybe put my hands on it. I have an idea of how to get there, to get from A to B, instead of just standing there going, I have no idea. It's like you're able to see the manufacturers, the products, and just have a knowledge of what's out there and available to you to do it. And then, of course, once we get it, we'll modify it and totally do it completely the wrong way. In the world, well, sort of in our world, the sort of feature and the scripted television world, I think it's all still departmentalized. There are the specialists that come in now, like the movie guys, but now we're sort of seeing movies and any kind of the sort of stabilizing axis, gimbaled heads. Being more and more part of our package that we take out with us. It's all of those things. It's challenging and liberating all in the same notion, because you may have a piece of gear that just shows up that may still be in prototype, and we have to figure out how it works, what situation it works best in, and then not look kind of silly if it doesn't work, and try and solve those problems. Sort of the critical lines. For me, it's not about operating the shot. It's what they want out of the shot. Like either the director or the cinematographer, what they want me to bring to that shot. Whether, I mean, it could be a shot where you're going to have an actor totally going to some kind of emotional place, so you have to have the freedom to move around, or they may not be on the mark, or they may be some other part of the room, and if you're way back here, if you're stuck way in the back of the room and they're over there, you're not delivering them what they want. So you have to sort of conceptualize that and understand the parameters you're working in terms of the script and the story. Like we talked about in the panel, it is about that relationship with the directors and the cinematographers, that you guys we're all on the same page. We're all reading from the same book. We understand what the story is, because a movie is really just one shot at a time. So you have to make that shot. It's an arc that it carries over, through the whole thing. So you're just really concentrating on that one shot. So what is the best way to tell to get that and tell that one shot for them? Like, what do they need out of it from you? What do you bring to them? Like, so, and that's all, it all mostly goes back to the story. Like, what is this, what is the theme, the feeling, all of those sort of cliche terms? They're great because they get everybody on the same page, and having that idea, everybody gravitates to that one idea, and then it can expand from there, and it can turn into whatever you want it to turn into. It really just comes down to scheduling. like I'm up for I'll be up for anything. Like Jim, who was just here, I'd never done. We worked together at the beginning of last year. We did a movie, and I'd never done a really broad comedy like that before. Um, it was a very sort of R-rated, broad. Yeah, I mean, not broad, but it was a very specific genre, which I'd never really done, and it was great. Like I was, I didn't know Jim until I got to New Orleans, and it was really fun to do because I'd usually done like really heavy dramas or bigger action movies, or even the scripted stuff is like the TV is episodic, but I'd never ventured into that world, and it was great. It was a whole new way to do a movie, which I wasn't really up on, but it was cool. I love the learning curve because I think once if you're ever on a set and you're completely complacent, then you shouldn't be there. I think for me personally, I like being sort of on the edge of it and not really having complete control of it, because I think there's an attention that I find within me that I want to overcome it and keep moving forward. I like that challenge of it. I think it's twofold because I think it's about the people. It's about you could sign up for a movie with really difficult actors or notoriously difficult actors and find out that they're not that bad, or notoriously difficult cinematographer, director of photography, or director. And then I like being in those situations to find out why other people find it difficult. And most of the time, it's not. It's very pleasant. I mean, that's been my experience. I mean, I work with some directors that have reputations, and I find them all very lovely and very very focused, very honest people that have a vision, and I like that. I like having like we all have the same vision and getting them driving me to do better, I guess is the way to say it. I enjoy that. Yeah, I mean, I like that challenge. I like that challenge of them pulling something out of me to make it better, whatever that means. Whether it could be really bad operating, but you're capturing some emotion that connects an audience to that story. I like that's the part that interests me in a movie. I think everybody, when you sign up for those kind of movies or TV shows or whatever that project is that you guys we're doing, I think I think everybody has to be on the same page. Everybody has to be on board, and you got to take the journey together. And the journey will end at some point, hopefully. Whether it's one day, 3 weeks, 6 months, it's like it does come to an end, but it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the process of doing it, which is great. It's a pressure spot. It's a trust spot too. It's they really entrust you to deliver because you're dealing with the actors. You're dealing with the lighting. You want to make everything has to look beautiful. I mean, that's what we go to movies for. If not, we're I don't know, listening to the radio or a podcast. I mean, that's the idea of a movie is this image that you're delivering to them, and being able to do that, I think is a lot of responsibility. Is to be able to translate this sort of this idea into movement of a camera or non-movement of a camera. It depends. It depends on the movie. You find sort of the bigger sort of action sort of sci-fi movies, those kind of in that genre, they're very prevised, and a lot of times you end up shooting the previs exactly. Other jobs, there's a lot of leeway in how it's going to unfold, and what's going to unfold, and what the camera's going to do. No, the VR world is like I understand it, but I don't understand what we're gonna do story-wise to make the VR world, to bring it into the feature film, the television realm. That's gonna be the new frontier, I believe. It's crazy. Like we've gotten the idea of how to do a product with it, and how to interact with this product in the VR, but how to tell a dramatic story, or like an action movie story, or some kind of just a story that's can contain an audience. That's going to be to see who does it and how they do it, and the tech behind that is going to be pretty amazing.
Things on
The cameras
camera,
everywhere,
like,
right?
So if that critical element has been assaulted, how do you
But-
translate this?
Exactly,
skill, right?
but then what is the element? Because you're moving the camera wherever you want it to be. So, and how does that interact with the story? Yeah, it's going to be, if they can break that ground, it's going to be breathtaking. It's a huge party. It's a very complicated, teched out party. I mean, I've seen some really cool stuff done with VR, but to be able to, for that to last more than 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, how do you hold an audience for 2 hours in that arena?
I wonder if we're
I don't know. We're at a new frontier of how it's all going to play out. Well, that's cool. No, I love it. I mean, I love all the new stuff. I love the old stuff too. Like the simplest thing is just to take a camera and a lens and shoot something. But it's fun to do the other stuff too. That's insane. That's insane. Or where you're doing the overlay of what the VR world, but not in complete surround VR, where you're doing the previs. The previs is playing over the live action. It's like, yeah, it's mind blowing. Oh, I mean, and it's only going to get crazier and crazier, more ramped up, which I love. Or is it the reactions you're having to what's, it's play, so you shoot it like as a play, say, and then you as the viewer are going in, and like you can branch off and follow this character or follow,
your favorite character.
and it changes. Yeah, so there's like an infinite number of combinations.
It's crossing the
Yeah, it's really trippy of how that's going to work. And if we have the capacity as a viewer to keep going back and watching the same story, but watching it from different perspectives. Right. And maybe it's where we just force, like, yeah, you can go follow this character, but you can only follow it in a certain way, but you're still, you can't, there's not an infinite number of, there has to be a definition to it at some point. Or it just goes on forever, then you get lost in it and becomes, who knows what.